Good morning, everyone, and thanks for wrapping up our last day of our 35th virtual annual meeting. And if I haven't said it, hopefully this is our last virtual meeting. Hopefully. To kick off our last day, we would like to welcome our beloved chairs to present their subcommittee accomplishments from the last term and give us an idea of what we can expect in the new term. And like I promised last year, we'll begin in reverse order this year, and we'll start with our Training and Drills Subcommittee Chair, Ben Harm. Take it away, troublemaker. Mr. Harm.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Okay, so like Jen said, my name is Ben Harm. I work at the Savannah River site, and currently we are experiencing just a little bit of weather. So if my internet breaks up, I apologize. So I wanted to start by going over a couple of our 2020-21 accomplishments. We sponsored the new emergency management employee onboarding tool and began some data collection. And the idea is that if someone's new to emergency management, we provide like a generic listing of courses that would benefit them in their job descriptions. So we also hosted several spotlight presentations on training and drills, lessons learned, and best practices from a variety of different locations, including a COVID pod vaccine distribution drill, tabletop exercises, and responding to EOCs in a pandemic. One of the things that I did want to highlight is we increased our membership from 68 members in 2018 to 126 members in 2021. And the other sidebar to that is while our overall membership has increased, our attendance at our monthly meetings has also increased, basically from like 8 to 10 in 2018 to where we're averaging over 25 folks in attendance at each meeting. So not only do we increase our overall membership according to the listings that our EMI SIG folks keep, but we've also increased our attendance and participation. And I'll talk a little bit more about what that means to the subcommittee here in a second. We also highlighted new technologies and ways to conduct virtual trainings and drills throughout the complex during our meetings. So our 2021-2022 objectives, we're going to conduct pilot tests on any course that has received the 30 evaluations. That's a standard that was put in place that they have to have 30 evaluations before we can conduct a test on them. We're going to finalize that data collection for the emergency management employee onboarding tool and design the proof of concept for the steering committee review and approval. Identify and add drill documents to the repository that's being created by EMESC. I think I said that right. And develop a training course on use of moulage in drills and exercises. And most of our objectives have come out of that participation in our monthly sessions. So especially our fourth objective, we were talking about it last week. And hey, we really could use a training course in moulage. Okay, so we have an SME who can do that and kind of put that training course together, which would be beneficial for the entire complex. Opportunities to collaborate and support. We're going to collaborate with the EMSC and the exercise repository. We're going to work with SEMPER on their staffing analysis, and then the STARS committee and their skills matrix. So for 21-22, the incoming leadership will be Felicia Broadus from Pantex, and Thomas Anciso will be the vice chair from Pantex as well. With that, I think I'm about done. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I don't see any questions for you, and I'm just so grateful that that you served as the chair for training and drills. And it's been a real pleasure. As everyone can attest, we have a lot of fun. So for those of you wondering if you'd like to get involved in leadership, I will be asking, if we have time, our chairs that are on this this presentation time, if they would talk about how EMI-SIG has benefited them. So Mr. Harm, be thinking about that. And until then, I'd like to introduce our new STARS, STARS chair, Melissa Douglas, and let's hear from her and how she's been keeping her members busy.
Thanks, Jen. Good morning, everybody. My name is Melissa Douglas. I work at Oak Ridge National Lab. I am the Technical Planning Basis Coordinator there, and this is my first year chairing STARS. I'm extremely proud to represent and report for this subcommittee. It's an amazing group of intelligent, hardworking, creative, and dedicated professionals. Thank you all for all of your hard work this term. I'd also like to start by thanking all those who make this possible. Of course, everybody at EMI-SIG, but especially our subcommittee coordinators. So not listed here is Miss Berna Woods. Berna has been with us this past term and done a wonderful job. We are going to miss you, Berna. We're going to follow you to the subcommittees that you are coordinating. But we are as equally excited to welcome Lori Guerin. Lori's been working with Berna for the past couple of months, and I think it's going to be a really good fit, and we're excited for you to join us and help us out. Also, our advisory, we have Dr. Jakeen from DOE in A41 and Ivy Olberding from Brookhaven National Lab. Thank you both for keeping us on track. We can, be a little bit squirrely sometimes, so thank you. And then the Chuck Reeves, the only Chuck Reeves from Pantex is the vice chair. I'd also like to thank Cliff Glantz. Cliff Glantz is the outgoing chair, or was the outgoing chair from last year. Cliff stuck around and helped to kind of co-vice chair until Chuck and I could get our feet underneath us. And I think that happened quicker than we could have imagined. And we were off and running, and Cliff just let us fly with it. So thank you, Cliff, and thank you, Chuck, for all your mentoring and support. So just a little bit of background before we get started on the accomplishments and the objectives. The STARS is a relatively new subcommittee, so it formed, I think, back in 2017 from the merging of the Hazards Assessment Subcommittee and SCAPA, which is the Subcommittee on Consequence Assessment and Protective Actions. So there's a significant overlap in both membership and interests, and a lot of the program elements that everybody was involved in were very complementary. So we're relatively new and kind of still figuring out, the direction that we're going and how we're going to get there. But I think this year, when going to put these accomplishments on a slide, it was really hard to fit everything in. And hopefully I'll leave a little bit of time in case I forgot something, and one of the co-chairs or the membership can chime in. So to get started, the Emergency Management Analyst Training, or EMAT, working group has launched 2 courses on the learning nucleus. I may be a little bit ahead of ourselves on the HAS 201 DE Fundamentals of Hazard Survey Development, but it's going to be on the learning nucleus like any minute. I'd like to thank Paul and Scott Stoudemire for all their help on really bringing this to life. It's been a long time coming. I think we started in 2018, but I'm really excited and think it's going to be a really good tool for training and for sort of evaluating the level of subject matter expertise amongst analysts. In addition, we have the Consequence Assessment Overview course now in the Learning Nucleus, which is a great basic course to get started in consequence assessment. So this year we saw a bit of an explosion with working and task groups. We have a lot of new leadership, a lot of new co-chairs. And so the first one is the Design Basis Threat Working Group, which is Jamie Wright from Y12 is the co-chair of that. And basically there were a lot of us hazards analysts at the different sites that were getting pulled into doing asset characterization for the Design Basis Threat, DOE Order 470.3c. And we didn't really have any sort of a platform to share and to benchmark. And we decided to do that. We've made a lot of good benchmarking presentations. We have involved both NA41, AU50, AU70, and we're getting everybody talking. So that's been a really big thing this term. We also reestablished some of the working groups that were formerly under the Hazards Assessment Subcommittee. So our source term working group and the chemical screening working group. I'll talk a little bit more about both of those when we get to the objectives, but all of these groups are very active, meeting monthly or every other month regularly and getting some really good work done. We also established the STARS Book Club. So being a bit of a book nerd, loving to read, and just really seeing how much I could learn and be inspired, I thought it would be a good idea to get STARS members together. And now it is actually open to all of EMI-SIG. This past term, we have read and discussed the Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande and The Unthinkable by Amanda Ripley, which everybody heard from on her prep talk in the opening session. All the discussion that has been spawned has just been really incredible. It's just kind of like natural, organic benchmarking opportunities. And we found, I think, even while discussing the Checklist Manifesto, that it really goes beyond just STARS and the program elements that we're interested in. I know in The Unthinkable, we've been talking a lot about the exercises and the training and drills that are held at our sites and doing a lot of information sharing there, as well as a lot of kind of informal networking and kind of getting to know people in a different way. So I think it's been really valuable. It is open to all, like I said, and really, if there is anybody out there that can recommend a book and would like to lead a book club discussion sometime, please be in touch with me. Next, we have definitely been making some sustainable progress on revisions to the PAC database and the CMM software. Yesterday afternoon, we heard presentations on both of those. They're hoping to have a Rev 30 out by the end of the FY, as well as the CMM Wizard. So those are both super valuable tools that are used not only by emergency management, but other across the complex in other agencies that are looking to assess the consequences from chemical releases. So very valuable and making good progress there. And then finally, we are continuing to update the STARS resource pages. Our entire website, externally facing, is getting a revamp so that those agencies wanting to access the PAC and CMM and the STARS SQA toolbox can have easy access and up-to-date information there. So we've been making good progress for that. So turning to our objectives, looking ahead is, the first objective is just continue this momentum and continue developing the products that are coming out of these working groups and task groups. And so that includes the PAC and CMM. For EMAT, we're hoping to continue development and maybe even finish the EPHA course materials. After those materials are finished, we will be needing some support to develop another online course module that will go into the learning nucleus for EPHA training. We are also working through the chemical screening working group on developing a new and improved chemical screening repository so that we all do not have to reinvent the wheel every time that we go to screen chemicals. We can have some information that has been quality assured, provided there for guidance. Finally, or not finally, we have the evaporating liquids guidance that the source term working group is going to be putting together. And then the skills inventory matrix, which that is basically, there are a lot of STARS members. It's a very diverse group as far as technical knowledge go. And so we're just wanting to develop a way for other subcommittees who are looking for SMEs to easily kind of know who's who. Also, it helps with the emergency management training in that new analysts can look and see maybe who they might reach out to for some assistance or mentorship. So that is something that we will be working on. We're also going to be working on updating and expanding the STARS SQA guidance. It's a bit out of date, and also the modeling toolbox. This year, a notable accomplishment was that the puff plume model got accepted into the toolbox and completed all of the required steps for that. So that will be part of the update. We are looking to reestablish the biosafety working group and kind of determine the needs for the working group across the complex. We see that that's probably an area where there will be growth and hazards as far as needing analysis and consequence assessment in the future. So we want to make sure that we are here to serve our colleagues. And then finally, providing opportunities for benchmarking, sharing best practices, and collaboration. So continue hosting site spotlights each month in our meetings. We would like to do some sort of an in-person mid-year meeting if possible, and benchmark and share best practices. So that's just something that we're looking forward to in the year ahead. Finally, some support required is we decided that we are going to update our STARS banner. There was a lot of good ideas proposed during our subcommittee breakout sessions. And I'll just leave it at that. It can be a surprise. Everybody can see, what it consists of when it is showcased. And then, of course, they said we're going to need some help developing the course module. I do think that there were a lot of lessons learned out of development of the hazard survey module in what is needed for developing an online module. So hopefully it should go a little bit quicker. The last thing I'll mention is that we have increased our membership from 80 to 93, lucky number 13. But more so than just the numbers, I think significantly we have increased participation. Like I mentioned, we have numerous new co-chairs. So I mentioned Jamie Wright of the DBT working group. We also have Joshua Dice from Sandia National Lab in New Mexico. He is the co-chair for the Emergency Management Analyst Training Working Group. Aaron Merlin, who is the Chemical Screening Working Group co-chair. And Fernando Oluzzi is in charge of the evaporating liquids task group. And let's see. I feel like I might be forgetting somebody. Of course, Zhao Ying is from PNNL, is the co-chair of the PAC and TEAL task group under the Chemical Exposures and Mixtures Working Group, and Jin Yao is over the chemical mixture methodology. So, and Cliff Glantz is our Consequence Assessment Modeling Working Group chair, and working with the SQA guidance and updating the toolbox. So yeah, we've just had a lot of participation this past year, and it has been really, really great. So I think that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions or anything especially glaring that I may have forgotten?
You did a great job, Melissa. And now I think the rest of the membership can see why we had to bring in another subcommittee coordinator just to help STARS. So Lori Guerin is our newest member of our team. We're so happy to have her, and she's got her hands full with just dealing with all of the STARS thing, which is a good thing. And I don't see any questions, so I guess we'll move on to Raymond Baez-Perez from the Subcommittee for Emergency Technologies. You guys have seen him on the app a lot, so I will let him take it from here. Thanks, and welcome, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you, Jen. First, hello, I'm Raymond Baez-Perez. I'm a technical planning engineer for the Lawrence Livermore National Lab. I am the chair of the Subcommittee on Emergency Management Technologies. Unlike Ben, I don't have a good excuse for any bad internet connection, but everybody's used to that by now, right? So if I cut out, I'm sorry, I'm on the opposite side of the house. So first, I want to say thank you to everyone that has helped, especially Carol. We owe a lot to you for keeping us honest, for keeping us on time, and for making sure that we update things accordingly. So kudos to Carol for dealing with Daniel and myself. Speaking of Daniel, I thank you immensely, Daniel Meacham at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. He's a rock star. He's in so many other subcommittees. You can see the heads bouncing already because he's an active member that contributes a whole bunch to EMI SIG. I know a lot of people in different subcommittees can attest to that. I want to give a shout out to Jessica Gray and Grace McNally for their help in the UAS template and pushing that forward. Likewise, also to Ken Thomas in that kind of same veal, not just for being our DOE advisor, but for catching Dave Freshwater up during the whole transition, because we had that template out for Jose Barrios to go and approve, but he went on to greener pastures, and so Dave Freshwater had to be caught up really quickly. So I give kudos to Ken, Jessica, and Grace. Additionally, there's been a change in this past year. Our steering committee advisor is no longer Ted Morales. It is now Jonathan Pack, which honestly, Ted, thank you for all you've done. You've definitely sparked a lot of conversations, not just in subcommittee meetings, but in UAS working group and GIS working group, and brought in great people from PNNL and Hanford. And then also, thank you to Jonathan Pack for becoming our steering committee advisor. I know that he has a previous history. Before SEMTECH was SEMTECH, it was the technology working group, and he was one of the chairs, the last ones that passed the mantle to Brandon and myself whenever we started SEMTECH. So I give kudos to you and thank you for rejoining us, essentially. And lastly, all the members, just like Melissa mentioned in STARS, we have a very active membership that speak up, share best practices left and right. And even though we didn't have 13 new members, we definitely increased participation in the membership. So I definitely give kudos to all the members that have stepped up and actually participated in our meetings, including Cliff Glantz. So speaking to our accomplishments, and I'm going to go out of order. Why? Because I like to keep everyone on their toes. But the first one is the lines of inquiry. I want to say that this has been a collaboration that has been a labor of love. Essentially, this has gone through a whole bunch of different subcommittees, got a whole bunch of comments from everybody, even from the steering committee themselves, and we did it. We got it through. It got approved in April, which is great considering that this was a good. I think it was 2018 also that we started, and it's been great. So thank you for Jamie Harrison for her work on it. And thank you for everybody, Carol included, to kind of get this forward. And everybody, Jen, thank you for refining your processes for approval too. But it's been great. User groups, you notice I'm going all the way to the bottom. User groups, another thing that has been a labor of love. It was talked about at the last annual meeting, and of course, we were all gung-ho about it, and then we found out that there were some things that we needed to refine. It's great to see the user groups, and especially since we've seen a whole bunch of presentations, not just on WebEOC, but also on CBurn Responder, RAD Responder. That was great. Even the GIS incorporation into WebEOC. There's great presentations on all this stuff, and I think moving forward, we hope that we can move and have more sharing of best practices, especially with our user groups. Speaking of groups, working groups. This year is the first time that we had the GIS and UAS working groups, and we were able to establish a solid schedule. And this is truly kind of like stars, where members have truly shined. It's been awesome attendance, awesome discussions, awesome products. Honestly, this is probably, I would have to say, the rock star of SEMTECH right here, where we really truly get together. Even though we only have like 7 or 8 people per meeting, this is honestly, it's a great discussion and move things forward pretty good. And then speaking of working groups, GIS working group with its GIS repository, Daniel Meacham, I can't sing his praises enough. Definitely set up a good repository to build upon. And I know there was the GIS presentation that I forget who she was, but she mentioned that if you want to start and really get things off the ground, look internally, look at your GIS at your site. Don't try to recreate the wheel or reinvent the wheel. Look at what you already have and build upon that. I've used it and talked to our GIS folks, and they said this is a great place to start. They almost felt overwhelmed, but this is you always like to have more information than not enough. And lastly, I have UAS working group and their accomplishments, where we were able to talk to the Office of Aviation with the director there, and talked about how to kind of get things off the ground, so to speak. So we've learned the processes from the Office of Aviation, found a quick form for certificate of authorization, which all drones need, because you don't want to go in the air and get the FAA all mad. So it was great to actually get that information, and at the same time outline a good program template, which we got approved thanks to Ken and Jessica and Grace McNally. And now we're going to be moving that UAS template, now as I go into objectives now, to refine what it means to actually have an emergency response UAS program. We want to differentiate what is emergency response, what is a site UAS program. So we definitely want to help other sites kind of get off the ground, so to speak, when it comes to groups. I know that we had said in 2020 that we were going to have these. I think we showed a good support for GIS and UAS working groups, and we want to continue that and expand that into the user groups that have now been approved, so that we can ensure that those user groups are a good value, have value added to EMI SIG, as we've seen in this annual meeting this year. So this is a good kind of stepping stone to build upon. And then lastly is the DOE accountability methods and platforms. We've had some missteps along the way, people leaving, things kind of falling. But I think this year with SEMPER, we show a good kind of objective synchronicity about actually going about it. So we're going to try to expand the support, but also refine the scope so that we're not biting off more than we can chew. So with that said, what's the support that we need for this year? Well, I'm not one to change things, and this is basically the same stuff that we had last year verbatim, I think. So assistance from DOE for the technology acceptance across the complex, and I definitely want to see if there's anything new along the lines, if there's anything for guidance. That's basically it. I know that we always look at new technologies and what pitfalls we need to avoid. Case in point, any Chinese-made UASs, that we need to try to avoid those with all that security stuff. Assistance with increasing membership participation this year was great. We like to have more people in our working groups, more people in our user groups, just to kind of build the pool of shared knowledge. And of course, opportunities to collaborate with other EMIC committees. I can't speak for everybody, but I know I am a part of multiple subcommittees. Daniel's a part of multiple subcommittees. I've seen so many people, even the faces on the screen, part of multiple subcommittees. Why? Because when we collaborate and we hear what's going on, our products are better. Our information sharing grows, and it just becomes a better pool of shared knowledge. And the whole DOE complex gains from all this. So with that, thank you for hearing me ramble and say ohs and ums over and over again, because I'm trying to work on my professional speaking. But I just wanted to open up for everybody if there's any questions.
We appreciate you being real with us, Ray. You guys really knocked it out of the park. I mean, this year's Subcommittee of the Year competition was pretty intense. So thank you for all that you continue to do. And I also want to thank you for helping us revamp our user groups. And we will be announcing our user groups in the post-annual meeting emergent, and you'll be able to join in and get to know. I think we have about 10 new user groups. So coordinators, let's get ready. All right. Thanks, Ray. I would now like to welcome Jillian Const, and she is the chair for the Subcommittee for Emergency Management Planners. Miss Planner, Miss Jillian, what say you?
Thanks, Jen. I am Jillian Const. I am the Department Manager for Emergency Planning and Analysis at Sandia National Laboratories, and I am also the chair of the Subcommittee for Emergency Management Planners. So with that, I would also like to introduce, not talking with us today, but probably out there in TV land, is our Vice Chair, David Silver. So huge thanks to him from Los Alamos National Laboratory for helping support and catching things when I'm a little busy. So I definitely appreciate that. Fortunately or unfortunately, we're stuck. You guys are stuck with us, so we'll be the chair and vice chair for the upcoming year as well. Hopefully that'll allow some consistency, so that's definitely a good thing. We do also want to thank Kimberly and Kenneth Thomas, who's also often on our calls, for their support, their guidance, a little bit of an insight into what's happening in the DOE world outside, and bringing back information when we request it. Definitely appreciate their help greatly. Also, a sort of new announcement. We have our shiny new steering committee advisor, Jesse Sievers. So a big thanks to John Riley, who was a huge help to us as our steering committee advisor, but has moved on to the land of E833. So I'm sure we'll all be in touch with him and wish him the best. But thank you, John, for all of your support and your guidance for us throughout the years. And Jesse, those are some big shoes to fill, so no pressure. But we are excited to have Jesse Sievers with Legacy Management. He actually helped found SEMPER originally, which is great. So having him come back and help guide us from a different level is definitely appreciated. And of course, as everyone else has said, a huge thanks to Carol for her support as our coordinator. Sometimes it could be like herding cats, I'm sure, from experience, but we definitely appreciate her staying on track, keeping us on track, and making sure we get things done that we need to. I will jump really quick to the membership. We had 11 more people join SEMPER, which is great for being such a new subcommittee. We definitely appreciate everybody coming in, even if you're just listening, trying to get a feel for what we do, definitely appreciate that. And of course, the participation, as Ray talked about, in our meetings and then also in our working groups, so that we can get some of these goals accomplished and get some products out there. So that being said, in 2021, we did accomplish some great things. We completed the development of our strategic plan. That was one of our goals as a new subcommittee, to make sure we had short-term and long-term objectives. And then that way, if we do transition leadership or anything, we all know the direction we're going. We have that vision, and we don't have to worry about, losing track or losing sight of what we want to be as a subcommittee. So we completed that. And as part of that, which we're awfully proud of, we came up with a new way to incorporate that into the charters for the subcommittees that can then be used across EMI-SIG to kind of standardize how we're capturing those goals and that vision. Again, for consistency, standardization, and making sure that we all know where we're going in case people move around or anything else changes. We have that all in the same place, and it's pretty exciting. So again, a big thanks to Jen and Carol for helping with that. David Silver had a lot of input. We actually had Yuri Graves from Nevada helping us with that. So definitely appreciate it. That was a huge accomplishment for us as a new subcommittee. In addition, we sponsored creation of the Emergency Management Template Repository, which has had several names already, so I'm not sure what the final one will be, but that's what we've got so far. And basically the idea for that is a place, a location to put all of these examples of different types of documents, and then eventually come up with some templates that a new site can use, or a new person coming into a site can use, to have a good starting point for different types of documents that we all have to create according to the same, requirements from the order and all those good things. So it'll be an exciting adventure. We definitely are looking forward to that in the future as well, but we did sponsor it this year. Of course, during our regular meetings, we shared lessons learned and best practices. So basically, we invited people to have spotlights. We had some good discussions and benchmarking across sites. Some good questions were raised and good discussions out of those. An excellent example is we were fortunate enough to have Michelle Baker from Oak Ridge provide us with a presentation on virtual EOC operations pretty early on, and kind of how that worked, and some results of an exercise that they performed. And that was a great spotlight, and that actually ended up becoming the impetus for a virtual EOC lessons learned shared product. So very excited about that as well. And we collaborated with other subcommittees, kind of like Ray had talked about, working across, but of course we always want more, right? So we've worked with training and drills a lot, thanks to Ben and his crew for that, and also with Ray's group in SEMTECH. It's always good to get more outside input, both from other sites and from other groups with maybe some different areas of expertise all working together. So that's been pretty exciting for us. For our objectives for next year, a lot of this we've touched on already. So we do have a protective actions and mass notification messaging spreadsheet. And realistically, that is looking like it'll be part of the template repository. So basically some examples of those notifications that are being used at other sites, and perhaps a template that people can use to fill in. If you don't know, or you don't have standardized mass notification information for protective actions, that you could go there to look that up. So looking at finalizing that, which I think will be a great contribution. As Ray mentioned, and by the way, we're looking for a co-chair for SEMPER to lead that effort. So if anyone's interested, absolutely let us know, speak up, ask us about it. We'll definitely be more than happy to talk. In addition to that, we also have a draft design or proof of concept for that template repository. So basically how that's going to look, how it's going to work, and bringing in other subcommittees to see what templates that might be useful to them and what samples we can get loaded in there. And as I mentioned, the virtual EOC lessons learned. Of course, COVID's affected all of us and made us go virtual in ways we didn't think we could, and it's going to continue. So definitely looking forward to that shared product as well, to get some lessons learned and try to build off each other in virtual space. In terms of support, we definitely are looking for support from Jen and her crew on some guidance, quick guides, and other things surrounding the template repository, and requesting some development of that application as well. So basically, how's it going to look, how's it going to work, and helping us get there. As Ray mentioned, just really quick, of course, we want to keep increasing membership, and we really would like some support for active participation. So that means we definitely need some co-chairs for those working groups and some people to really dig in and push those projects forward. That would be great. And of course, increased collaboration with other subcommittees. You guys are all great to work with, and we definitely want to have way to facilitate that a little easier so that we can actually come up with those shared products and work together more frequently. And with that, I think that's it, Jen, unless anybody has questions.
Thanks, Jillian, so much. You guys have been very busy, and I didn't quite get the name of the working group that needed a co-chair. Do you remember?
We have more than one, but the one in particular is the accountability working group that we're doing with SEMTECH. So SEMTECH has one on their side, but we don't have one currently. We had a few people change jobs and, unfortunately lose them. So anybody who's out there.
All right. Well, actually, this may be something I should include. The emergent is just a synopsis of what subcommittees need going into the new term. So be on the lookout for that emergent. It's very valuable. And last but never least, we've got our field and first responder chair with us, Mary Kay Monday, all the way from Y-12 National Security Complex. Mary Kay, you got 5 whole minutes.
I can do this, 5 minutes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Kay Monday. I am the Assistant Fire Chief with Y-12 Fire Department and the chair this year of the First and Field Responders Subcommittee, along with Chief Mike Brock from Pantex, who is unable to be with us today. I want to start also with a big thanks to specifically our participating members. We've had a core group that have participated in our monthly calls most every month, and they always bring valuable information. We always have great conversation, especially during this COVID pandemic that we're all working through. We've been able to share tips and ideas on how we're managing the effects of COVID and how it's affecting our personnel and how we conduct business. So our monthly calls have been just very beneficial, and that's primarily due to that core group of participating members. So I want to say thank you to those members first and foremost. Then our additional leaders, our co-chairs, in particular, Chief Brady Austin with INL, Chief Mike Masters with ORNL. They always participate. They lead initiatives with our working groups, and those guys are the difference makers for us. And last, but certainly not least, is what I've just learned. The nickname that I've just learned for Miss Carol Eifert is the Velvet Hammer. That's amazing and so appropriate. She has been absolutely wonderful to work with. She's been the glue that has held us together. Sounds like she's been that for all of the groups that she works with. So I just want to say a big thank you to her for always being kind, but keeping us on track. And it's very, we're all very appreciative to her. So as far as membership for this year, it appears that we were a bit stagnant. However, we did lose some of our members to retirement primarily. So we've had some new representatives join our group, and we're really excited to work with those new site representatives. Our biggest hope is that we get to meet with them in person at some point soon, at the very least, our not virtual annual meeting next year. Some of the accomplishments that the FFRSC has been a part of this year, one of our main goals that we've worked on is utilizing the Target Solutions platform that many of not just the DOE sites, but fire departments across the country utilize this product primarily for training, tracking, sharing lesson plans and that kind of thing. So we have set up an MOU for a DOE NNSA complex site on Target Solutions, and that's mainly for a training and information repository. There have been 2 sites so far that have gained approval from their legal groups and all those that need to to sign on to that to begin using that. So we're excited about what that product is going to do for us in the future. We have established but continue to build on a database for fire department information, primarily for points of contact, but it's also a very valuable resource to all of us that offers both general and specific information on fire department programs for DOE fire departments across the complex. So that's an ongoing initiative, but it has provided a lot of value to all of the members of our group. We've assisted headquarters with a few initiatives. One is a revision to the DOE standard 1066 fire protection to align with the DOE order 151.1 Delta. We've also worked with headquarters to discuss moving to a common fire reporting software. Fire departments in the country are asked to report their responses to the National Fire Incident Reporting System. So we're working on a consistent method of reporting across the DOE complex. We've also had a lot of discussion and effort toward the removal of AFFF or any foam that contains fluorine. All of our sites are moving to using fluorine-free foam, particularly in a fire response type scenario. So that's been some more of the value that we've gained in our monthly meetings, is that we've been able to discuss options for replacement and the pros and cons of each. So that's been very valuable for us as well. So our objectives moving into next year, we want to continue to work with our Training Solutions enterprise platform, continue to add training and various types of information that would be beneficial to all of the DOE fire departments. Of course, we want to continue to not only increase our membership, but we want to reach out to our current members and kind of pull them to see where they would receive the most value from membership in this group. So that's a big focus rolling into this next year. Again, we want to continue to work with our Target Solutions platform and continue to work with AU23 on the National Fire Incident Reporting System commonalities that we can find. Support moving into next year as we work on these courses that we can share among our sites. Maybe an instructional systems designer to assist, excuse me, to assist in those templates that we can share across sites. We want to reach out to folks that can help us with some IT barriers that some of the sites are having in bringing the Target Solutions software to their site. And then as some of the other subcommittee chairs have mentioned, we want to look for opportunities to collaborate with other subcommittees. Just in this last 30 minutes, I've heard of a couple of areas that we could reach out and collaborate, as far as the UAS for emergency response, and then moulage training. I think several of our fire departments are involved in that. So we've got a lot of opportunities rolling into this next year. Our biggest collective hope is that we get to meet together in person at some point soon. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. And this is why we actually do these report outs, so that you guys can see all the opportunities you have amongst yourselves. And I'm going to make it even better. I'm going to have a fall forum, a fall leadership forum, virtual, unfortunately, but in August, since we don't have any subcommittee meetings planned, or very few. I believe it's going to be August 24th. It's a Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. And that will give you some more time to actually sit down with other subcommittee chairs, vice chairs, to discuss these sort of opportunities. So we're a little bit over time, but I would like you guys, if you wouldn't mind, to put into our app chat, how have you benefited most from your involvement with EMI SIG? I know we don't have time now. Hopefully we might have time in the next set of presentations, but if we don't, I would like all the chairs to tell us how have you benefited most from your involvement with EMI SIG, and anyone who's watching, please also let us know how it's helped you. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and send us off for a quick 10-minute break. And I appreciate all of the chairs that have presented today and look forward to this whole new year. We got a lot of stuff planned. I better get some sleep. All right. See you guys back in 10.